Welcome everyone to Wrasslin Raw!
You're listening to Wrasslin Raw, the podcast that takes you back to when the new generation took over the WWF. Thank you for joining us. You're here with Ryan Arico.
You know, when I went to school, I went to drink from the fountain of knowledge. You and Joe, you guys just gargled it.
Joe Gimateo.
This episode, guys, is going to be a real slobber knocker.
Oh, yes. I'm the one and only Jason Bartlett, and we're going to examine WWE history one pay-per-view at a time. But first, a very quick shout-out to our listeners in Nebraska. We see what you've been doing out there, and we like it. So keep it up. Keep tuning in, and we will keep trying to provide you the best above-average wrestling podcast that there is in the world.
Serviceable.
The best 3-star podcast out there.
Serviceable really is the best way to describe it. As you may have noticed, this is a special pay-per-view episode. So just a brief rundown on the difference here. Because there are no jobbers here, there will be no jobber of the week. And Joe will be hitting us with what Dave Meltzer thought about these matches as well. We're going to go over our star ratings here. So me, Joe, and Ryan will give our star ratings. Joe gives us what Dave thought. And at the end of it, we'll just give our final impressions of how this pay-per-view went. So, with all that being said, in this episode of Wrasslin Raw, we're going to be taking a look at In Your House 3. This pay-per-view aired on September 24th, 1995, and was recorded at the Saginaw Civic Center in Saginaw, Michigan, and features Vince McMahon, Jerry the King Lawler, and Jim Ross on commentary. I was very happy to see that right from the start. Are you guys ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, yes.
All right, then, let's get into it. In Your House 3, the triple header. That's how this started off. It's not a good sign. Tonight, we're going to test the true mettle of a champion, but also the bounds of friendship, just so you know. What the hell is going on with the intro music here? This was a soulful Gloria Gaynor type song.
Yeah.
Gonna be hanging with my boys in your house tonight.
I don't know, I was kind of digging it.
It wasn't bad, I gotta say.
Their goal for all these In Your House songs, I think the goal is to fit the words in your house as many times as possible into the lyrics.
Yeah. While the animated graphic for In Your House attempts to break into a house, this time it went in through the second story. It tried going in through the front door. It wasn't happening, so it got a ladder and went in through a window. Welcome, everyone, to Saginaw, Michigan. There's no word on if we have any Saginaw fishermen present. Huh? Saginaw fishermen? Anyway, it's great to see JR standing there ready to go with some commentary. Hopefully, we'll wait and see how that plays out over the next 2 hours. But just as they're giving predictions, JR predicts that Yokozuna becomes the Intercontinental Champion tonight, after all the shenanigans of the triple header match that we'll get into. We're going to head now into our first match of the night. Savio Vega defeats Waylon Mercy by pinfall in 7 minutes and 6 seconds. I am once again struck by the hilarity of Savio Vega, the Caribbean legend from the South Bronx. That never ceases to entertain. And all in all, I continue to be up on Savio Vega. His energy is perfect. And Waylon Mercy, love the gimmick. He seems like such a nice guy all the time, till that bell rings, and then he just loses something. At the beginning of this match, the merging of gimmicks. Waylon tried to do some salsa dancing there for Savio, and Savio did end up shaking Waylon Mercy's hand with no immediate backstabbery going on. I thought that was a really great way to start this match. But as the match goes on, Waylon Mercy was looking extremely physically stiff in some spots. And when I say that, I don't mean the traditional definition of stiff when it applies to wrestling. I mean like the geriatric definition of stiff. I mean no disrespect with that. It seemed that he was working very gingerly sometimes in some of these moves. I know Joe has told us in the past about Waylon's health issues and some of the injuries he might have had in his relatively short run with the WWF here. I couldn't help but think of that while watching this because he was very ginger with certain things. We get the news from Doc Hendricks here that Owen Hart is not in the building. I wonder what that means for the triple header match later on tonight. This one took me by surprise, even though I do briefly look ahead at the match card to get some names. I did not notice this whenever I was doing that, and this is my first time watching In Your House 3. Just real quick, guys, is this your first times as well?
As far as I can remember, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time in at least a long time, but I hope they keep us informed on this Owen Hart situation.
Yes, I hope they do too. It would be such a waste of time to say this right now without giving certain updates throughout the night.
Time and time again.
I look forward to that. We have a spinning heel kick from Savio Vega here in the ring that just looked absolutely amazing. And what did not look amazing, Jesus Christ, that brain buster that Waylon laid down on Savio looked goddamn rough. I physically winced and said, ooh, out loud whenever I saw that. They trade near falls. Quite a few of them. It didn't build anything for me, unfortunately. And after another heel kick from the ropes, Savio gets the pin and the 3 count. I don't really have much to say on this here, other than I suppose this was a serviceable match, like we mentioned earlier, you know. If that's the worst we can say, it's all right, but I think Waylon Mercy was just too physically unable to keep up with Savio Vega here, even with Savio slowing himself down, which he did. It was really clear to me that Waylon was in some kind of physical pain or condition or something. I don't know, but something was preventing him from just going all out. I'm going with 1 star on this one. Joe, what did you think?
Well, I think we're probably all going to agree with everything about this match. As far as Savio Vega goes, I can't think of a better choice to open an event. I think that he's a great guy to have in the opening match. Lots of energy, just a cool, likable guy who can work pretty well. As far as Waylon Mercy goes, I think that you pretty much said it all. He just looks like he's an older guy that's in pain, and it's a shame. And I remember Bruce Pritchard talking about this on one of his podcasts, that the gimmick is so great. If this would have happened maybe 10 years ago, this guy would have been maybe headlining with Hulk Hogan. Like, the gimmick is that good, but man, it's like 10 years too late. So yeah, it's really a shame with him. I agree. I gave it 1 star basically because I like both of these guys, but yeah, the wrestling was pretty bad from Mercy.
Yeah, it sounds like we're pretty much all on the same page here. I was excited for Savio's energy. Like always, he has a just great job of getting you involved in a match and just entertained by his antics in the ring. And I, too, enjoyed their little exchange at the beginning with the dance and the handshake. So I thought that was entertaining enough. But it was hard to not notice just how slow Waylon Mercy was. Towards the beginning, even, there's a spot where Waylon Mercy picks up Savio and his knee buckles and they fall against the ropes. And, you know, I don't know if that's what was supposed to happen, but I don't think so. I think he just, his knee gave out and he dropped Savio. Going into this match, I was a little bit excited. We've seen great things out of Savio Vega, and we've seen entertaining things out of Waylon Mercy, but something here tonight in his, like you said, I don't know if he got an injury, a week ago, and he's just not able to push it anymore, or maybe in the beginning of this match, but something was off with how slow and lumbering he looked. You brought up at the beginning about JR and him talking in this match, and towards the end of the match, I hear for like the sixth or seventh time Vince throws out the word maneuver, and I think to myself, I'm like, wait, where the hell's JR been? You know, he's usually pretty good at barking out these actual names of these moves, and I think the only thing from this match I remember was a good spot right at the beginning where Savio was starting to work on Waylon's left arm, and JR points out, you know, it's a good strategy. Waylon's a southpaw.
Yeah.
And that's good stuff. That's the type of stuff you want to hear out of commentary. But after that line, he was pretty much mum the rest of this match. So we're all in agreement here. I gave it 1 star.
I can just hear it. You're not doing yourself any favors, pal. keep your mouth shut there, pal. Joe, what did Meltzer think of this match?
Well, gentleman, Dave Meltzer gave this a 1/4 star, saying that Mercy's knees and back are so bad that he's almost as bad as Andre the Giant at the end of his run.
Yeah.
Also, just some sad news to report here. Is this Waylon Mercy's first pay-per-view match that we've seen? I think it is.
I believe it is,
I believe so,
well,
yeah.
Sadly, it's also going to be his last.
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
Yeah, last pay-per-view match, so we may get 1 or 2 more on Raw, but yeah, it's coming to an end, and it's pretty sad.
Yeah. Ryan, what was your star rating on this one again?
It was a 1.
Okay. I thought so, and of course, Meltzer has to do his fractional bullshit, but at least we're all on the same page here with this. We're going to move it next. We've got a brief interlude in between our matches here. This is Doc Hendricks with an update on the Owen Hart situation. Backstage, Doc comes upon Jim Cornette arguing with Gorilla Monsoon while Fuji and Yokozuna observe the interaction. As far as Gorilla Monsoon, the interim president, is concerned, the triple header will continue tonight, apparently thwarting the hero Owen Hart's attempts to make them cancel this shit show of a match. That's my personal interpretation of things. That's how I want to believe this went down. It's not true, but that will get concluded with music in the background. It's the shrieking of somebody being murdered. We'll move on now to our next match. Psycho Sid, with the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, defeats Henry O. Godwin by pinfall in 7 minutes and 23 seconds. This past weekend on Superstars, Sid got slopped and then proceeded to throw some things in a stairwell while he threw a hissy fit. Just briefly, we have to get as many views of the slop as possible in here, different angles, of course. Slop is advertising revenue, apparently, the way that they're showing this shit. You'd think that they got $1 for every time they showed a slop angle.
That's good American slop.
It is. And here, at the very beginning of this, once Henry and Sid are in the ring, I'm tempted, or I should say I was tempted, to give this match an automatic 5-star for what I'm pretty sure, at least in WWF, is the first ever use of the term slobber knocker on WWF television. Guys, am I reasonably correct in that? This is probably the first time it's ever used on WWF TV.
You know, I don't know for sure, but I know as soon as I heard it, my ears perked up, and it stuck out to me.
Yeah, I don't recall it being used at WrestleMania 9 or any of those random Raws that we got Jim Ross.
Yeah.
The other 2 guys seem to be pretty surprised to hear it as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long after this, from the commentary angle, at least, throughout the rest of the show, for them to start picking on poor old JR for being a shit-kicking Okie, unfortunately. It was a matter of time with Vince McMahon. But yes, I am pretty sure, and especially since JR was on commentary for the 1994 Match of the Year with the 1-2-3 Kid and Bret Hart, if there was ever a time to use slobber knocker, I think it would have been then, and we didn't note it. I went back and checked, so first time ever. But, in all seriousness, from the start of the match until when I was writing this note, the action looked good. Unfortunately, I came to realize that was because Henry Godwin was on the offensive and in control. Once Sid takes over, things get a lot less interesting. I had nothing else to say about this match past this point until we finally get to the finish. After a few spots of DiBiase interfering, Sid ends up hitting Godwin with the power bomb and getting the 3 count. After that, however, Bam Bam comes down and goes at Sid, but then Kama comes down to go after Bam Bam. Godwin gets up in time to slop DiBiase yet again. And I have to admit that I did enjoy this because a stalk of celery or something, I don't know what that was, gets lodged in DiBiase's collar, and it makes it look like he's growing a fungus out the back of his neck. The focus on DiBiase just goes on way too long for me, for my taste, especially once Vince decides that we need to see that again. We're going to see multiple slops again. And that's it. That's the end of this segment. I have no idea where this is going. If this was to get Bam Bam mixed back up with going after the corporation, which, I had hoped that whole thing was done and over with, maybe this is to pair up Bam Bam and Godwin? I hope not. We don't need any more singles tag teams.
But they could be buddies.
So, yeah, right. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with this. This finish was just confusing after such a lackluster match, but I'm going to give this 1 star strictly for the first couple minutes of the match where Godwin was in charge, and then for the first 30 seconds of DiBiase getting slopped, because the rest of the time outside of those, isolated instances was not that great, but I felt that those 2 small little chunks were worth at least 1 star. Ryan, what did you think of this?
I'm kind of in agreement here. They started off and also in agreement, almost want to give it 5 star for the JR Slobberknocker comment. It was great. And then the King follows it up with, is that more of that Oklahoma jargon?
Yeah.
I also agree, Henry O. Godwin, when he was in control at the beginning of this match, it didn't look bad at all. Then they start on Godwin's back. They addressed it early in the match, or before the match even started. They let us know that his back was injured because of whatever. But when Sid starts working on his back, that is the downfall of this match. We get him working on the back for a while, then Sid goes into submission move after submission move. That's another thing that seems to be a pattern with Sid. I don't understand why a monster like him does so many submission moves. It just makes no sense to me. The interruption by Ted DiBiase, the burying of Godwin, he loses here. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was slightly optimistic at the very beginning of this match, but by the end of it, it just felt like a run-of-the-mill Raw match. And because of that, I, again, agree with you. It was a 1 star.
Yeah, great comment there at the end, Ryan. Run-of-the-mill Raw match, because that's basically what this was. My favorite part of this whole thing was not even in the match. It was Sid raging after getting slopped on Superstars, throwing chairs and shit in the back. That was funny as hell.
Yeah, he could rage.
Yeah. I don't even remember this match being advertised. I didn't remember it. And they showed Sid powerbombing Henry Godwin on the floor, and I can't believe Godwin would allow that to happen, and he better have received a huge bonus check for taking that. Man. But, surprisingly, the powerbomb in this match was actually not terrible.
Yeah, I was surprised by that, too.
Considering how big Henry is, it wasn't too bad. But, yeah, this match was just boring. Just so boring. And the slopping, for me, it was like, it's okay. But for me, it's kind of similar to the whole Skip versus Barry Horowitz thing. Like, this is like the 3rd fucking time that we've seen DiBiase get slopped. So it's like, okay, it's not that great anymore to me. So I also gave it 1 star. Dave Meltzer gave this a 0.5 star, saying that Godwin was okay. Sid's offense was horrible.
Yeah.
Looks like we're in agreement with Meltzer on this one.
Yeah, and great point with the slop thing there, Joe. It almost makes me wonder if, they're stuck in, a house show mentality. You know what I mean? Like, they need to do something a few times because not everybody's going to see it. They keep on forgetting that they have a national TV audience now, and that if you show something 3 fucking times, people are going to notice,
Yeah. Or just DiBiase can't take bumps, so Vince is like, well, we're just going to slop you a bunch of times.
Yeah, good point.
Something else that probably only us 3 here would know what I'm talking about, but For some reason, there was a few angles here from Ted DiBiase that for the first time, I realized that he really kind of looks like my dad.
I never really noticed that, but yeah, I could see that.
In certain ways, like a...
Right.
You know...
Like the same shaped head, they have the same haircut, you know.
Kind of
same laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. It's around the eyes, I think.
I think so too, yeah.
Well, as fun as that little divergence was, we have to get sucked back to reality with Doc Hendricks now. Doc is still backstage, waiting for some kind of resolution to this situation. We find out that Gorilla has given Cornette the option of having Yoko either defend the titles in a 2-on-1 scenario, or Cornette can go find a replacement for Owen Hart that will be for one night only, a tag champion that can legally participate in this match, and for this one match could also reap the benefits if that person that Cornette finds pins either Diesel or Shawn Michaels, he will get their belt. So everything above board with just the exception that Owen Hart might not be there. Cornette immediately rejects Yoko doing 2-on-1, as well he should, and so goes about finding somebody. We'll check back in on that later on as we go, but now we're going to go into our next match. The British Bulldog defeats Bam Bam Bigelow by pinfall in 12 minutes even. And I am pleased to report that it's official. They have revoked Bam Bam's costume gimmicks. There's no fancy frilly frippery on Bam Bam coming out the entryway tonight.
No, the Roman candles.
They did leave his pyro.
And got the Chris Farley cartwheel, too.
Yeah, still have the Chris Farley cartwheel.
But he's not wearing a bunch of shit that makes him look like a damn Pokemon anymore. So that's good. That's a good thing. In the match, the work has been solid so far as we get a picture-in-picture of Cornette trying to recruit Psycho Sid. It was not able to be understood, the words that Sid was saying. Not sure if he was spouting gibberish on purpose or maybe I was just mishearing things or what, but I couldn't understand what was going on. And here, I tried. Guys, I really tried, but the 3-man commentary booth isn't working here. We made mention of it earlier here in the episode, but Vince can't stop talking over JR. Vince is just taking every chance he gets to interrupt JR and not let JR get his 2 cents in. You can't do that with a 3-man booth. Everybody's got to be able to talk, or else why the fuck are they there? And it really became annoying.
Especially when you keep on cutting off the one guy who actually knows how to do this job.
Yes, exactly. So frustrating. But I tell you what is working is this match. I honestly can't even remember why these two might have had heat or might be having this match right now, and I don't really care. And in what is quite possibly the best piece of professional wrestling I've ever seen, Bam Bam goes for his enziguri. The enziguri looked amazing, but the camera clearly caught the fact that it did not connect. It didn't even come close. It was a full 2 inches above the Bulldog's head, but god damn it, the Bulldog sold the living shit out of it, doing a full mid-air rotation to put over the force of the non-existent kick. This was an example of pure goddamn professionalism. I can't even be mad about it. It is what it is, but damn it, they worked it well. Another issue from commentary, Vince calling false finishes. It continues to be a problem for me personally in Raws, on pay-per-views. It is not an effective commentary maneuver. I don't know what the hell you want to call it, but not working for me, brother.
Maneuver.
Yeah, but the power slam from the Bulldog to get the pin and the 3 count looked good. A little, a touch awkward because of the roundness of Bam Bam, I'll say, but looked good. So, in the end, I didn't have much as far as notes go on this because I was fully engaged with watching all of this match. As far as I'm concerned, there was not a down note for me with any of this as far as in-ring work goes. These are 2 competitors that did not fail to provide an excellent match. I dare say the only way that this match could have been better, and this would have probably bumped it up a star, the only way that this could have been better is if there had been a belt on the line. this is a match, I feel, that deserved a belt on the line. So, with all of that being said, I am giving this match a solid 3 stars. I wish I could find some random justification to give it more, but I can't. It's going to sit at 3, but goddammit, that's a solid 3. And I think that this has officially set the bar for the rest of this pay-per-view. Hopefully, the rest of the card can stack up to it. We'll see here shortly. But, Joe, where are you at with this match?
I am at the opposite end of you. I thought this match was the shits.
Really?
Yeah, mostly because, well, I thought the match was kind of boring, in my opinion, when I was watching it. But Bam Bam as a babyface does not work for me, brother.
Mm-hmm.
The British Bulldog, I know it's new, but right now, the Bulldog as a heel does not work for me, brother. There's really nothing, there's nothing different about him. First off, they didn't have Jim Cornette come out with him because they're doing this stupid shit in the back. So he comes out, he's just like kind of yells at a couple fans. But if I turn this match on in the middle, I'm thinking Bam Bam's the bad guy and Davies.
Yeah, if you haven't watched in a month or two.
So it didn't really do anything for the British Bulldog to get any heat as a heel. And you kind of have to do that when you have this fresh heel. The only thing they did was he got a fucking haircut. So, yeah, I don't know. I thought it was boring and drawn out. And I thought that power slam was kind of weak. I didn't like it. I gave it 1 star.
Well, it looks like we're going to cover all aspects of the spectrum because I fall right in between you two. I was thrilled to see that they dropped Bam Bam's stupid fireworks gimmicks. That gets a 5-star out of me. But I thought the guys worked fairly well together. Towards the beginning, I was very impressed with the Bulldog's great-looking suplex on Bam Bam. I mean, he did it with ease, which, on someone with Bam Bam's size that's pretty impressive. There was also a pretty nasty looking bump where Bam Bam goes over the top rope and he smacks his back like right off the edge. And, I don't know if that's exactly what he was going for, but it looked like it hurt like hell. And to bring up Vince again on his bad commentary, there was a point in the middle that I was very confused over. So Vince brings up in the middle of the match that Bulldog was having a rough time with Bam Bam and that he will be having an even rougher time tomorrow night against The Undertaker. And I'm thinking, Vince, why are you selling tomorrow night's Raw over this pay-per-view match? You're saying that match is going to be more grueling than this one. Seems a little counterintuitive, doesn't it? But from there, they start to work, and this is what brought the match down for me. They start to work on Bam Bam's leg, and it just is too long. I understand working on a big guy's limb like this, but it just seems like it was half the match was them working on his leg. And then he, does finally get the slam and the pin. So I thought that they looked good together, but when it hit that point where they started to work on Bam Bam's leg and stall the match, just really brought it down from what I was going to give a 3-star down to a 2-star match.
Okay. Joe, what'd Meltzer say?
Dave Meltzer gave this 3/4 of a star. He said that the match was okay, but the British Bulldog was clearly holding back, and we'll find out why later.
Yeah, and that kind of goes along with my stalling part.
Yeah.
While watching this, I'm saying, and again, we'll find out later, like, is he saving himself for something?
See, I didn't notice that at all. The only thing that I noticed was 2 completely competent singles wrestlers having a singles match with virtually no bullshit involved. I think maybe that's what put this up to 3 stars for me, is that for once, no stupid fucking
no
shenanigans. No shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like, this was just
no doubt.
Fucking wrestling match between 2 professionals. And I really think that that's what set this above for me. We didn't have, somebody past their prime. We didn't have a stupid gimmick of a belt contest. We didn't have all of the usual shit that we get drenched with every fucking week out of the WWF right now,
I really think, though, and again, I mean, I don't know if we should just spoil it for later on, but I really feel if the Bulldog didn't have 2 matches tonight, that this could have been a 4 or 3-star match, in my opinion, but they couldn't let the Bulldog completely gas himself here.
Yeah.
So they had to do that stalling for 5 minutes in the middle. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, this is why I love doing this podcast, because I really thought you guys were going to be on board with me on that one. And now that you bring this stuff up, I mean, I see what you're saying. I didn't see it at the time, and I'm glad that we talked about it, because while I still disagree with your assessments here, I do see what you're saying, and it does make sense later on down the line.
And I understand where you're coming from, too.
Yeah.
These were 2 professionals in the ring that there were no fuck-ups. I mean, this was a solid match.
It's good to know that the bounds of friendship have not been stretched too far over this disagreement. Friendship.
3 dudes with attitudes.
We're going to rename the podcast that.
I'm done.
Well, over on the Superstars call-in line, remember that? This is where we can call in and talk to the competitors, both winners and losers, as they come away from their matches. Ted DiBiase didn't even get a chance to wipe the slop off before they sat him down to yell at some poor kid on the phone. Meanwhile, Henry Godwin looks calmer than you are, as he's having a polite discussion with whoever he's talking to. We'll have a brief commercial for WrestleMania The Special, which only includes a shot of Nikki Turturro acting like the happiest goddamn human being on the face of the planet. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. They didn't show anything else from that.
Highlight of the night.
Yes, absolutely. He damn near saved this pay-per-view as well, just with that brief 10 seconds. Not even. But next, and Joe, I thought of you. We're going to go out to the sound of a presidential entrance.
Yes.
To usher us into our next match. Dean Douglas with Bob Backlund, how's about that, defeats Razor Ramon by pinfall in 14 minutes and 53 seconds. Bob Backlund is out first to cut a promo, and I do see what they're doing there, but I have to point out that any self-respecting Dean would not align themselves with somebody who is so clearly a moron. And our first look at Dean Douglas in his wrestling gear does not fit the gimmick of a Dean at all. This is that purple singlet and spangly robe that we saw Dean wearing last week during his report card whenever he magically teleported in and out of matches,
dream
or whatever
coat.
the hell he did there. Yes, the dream coat. Obviously, we can't pass up an opportunity to present to the viewing audience a repeat of Razor Ramon bitch-slapping the shit out of Dean Douglas once again. That's always appreciated.
Still looks great.
Probably the highlight of this show, along with that 10 seconds of Nikki Turturro.
Well, not to spoil anything, but definitely the highlight of this match.
Yeah.
I was extremely confused by Dean Douglas introducing and quoting the weight and home location for Razor Ramon. Why? That did nothing for this, I felt. Moving on, though, over in Picture, we get a view of Cornette. This time he's with King Mabel and Yokozuna, and they are standing there waiting for their cue to start. And after a brief pause, they start up talking as though they have been talking the whole time. Cornette pitching the idea of a team-up to Mabel. Didn't seem like it was going too well, because they cut away from that. One thing that did actually strike me about that was just the huge height difference between Mabel and Yokozuna. I know they're both, fat flop of fuckbags, but my God, Mabel is a hell of a lot taller than Yokozuna. I don't think I noticed that whenever we had that fat-off match a couple weeks ago. I don't get what's going on in this match, though. I can't tell if it's a lack of communication, if it was Razor and Dean fucking with each other, one or the other. Something was just really off with this. The work, serviceable, I guess, but just off. And I really wish I could come up with a better way of putting it, but this just gets more and more evident as the match goes on. At one point, we get a close-up of a clear example of spot calling from Dean Douglas, and I mean the camera is up in Dean's mush as he is talking to Razor in the middle of the ring. I think even commentary wound up confused about this match. And then, just to add to it, we get a run-in from the 1-2-3 Kid to do the pinfall. And by that, I mean, the referee had been knocked out, and Razor goes to pin Dean Douglas, and the 1-2-3 Kid just runs in and does the 1-2-3. Like, why? I get that he wanted to help his friend, but he's not a sanctioned official. He couldn't have done anything. He should have known better.
Razor was just as confused.
Yeah. And because of that interference and Razor shoving the Kid out of the ring and being distracted, and Dean Douglas ends up getting the pin and the 3 count. The ongoing drama between the Kid and Razor after the match was decent as far as a pull-apart segment goes. They had the officials come in to separate them after a pretty good slap from Razor to the Kid. But in the end, I mean, it did nothing to add to the match experience here. And again, I have no idea what else to say on top of all this, just kind of closing it out. Nothing about this match was coming together. Nothing was coherent. Nothing made sense to me. This is what I imagine it would be like if 2 completely green wrestlers fought each other for the first time at the county fair. I think this is completely deserving of a dud rating. Ryan, what did you think?
I was very disappointed in this match because, going into it, I thought for sure what we know of Douglas in his later career, he's a great wrestler. Razor Ramon, one of the best the company has right now. So I'm confused how these 2 guys could put together such a lackluster match. And it's not that it was bad. There wasn't a bunch of missed spots, and I'm kind of going to echo you, Bartlett, in I can't quite put my finger on it. It just wasn't on. You know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
It was just like there was just a slight half a second step off on everything they did. And one of the best parts was the King. Just last week, he was my low light, and I was hammering on him for how bad he was. But this week, we started off the episode with me quoting him, and here I thought he put out a pretty good line where he said that Razor went to a tough high school, that their school newspaper had an obituary column. I thought that was a pretty good one. And that was probably the highlight of the match. There's a couple good slaps. Razor lands another really good slap on Douglas's face. It sounded fairly similar to the one from a month ago, but outside of that slap and the King, I couldn't believe that they spent 15 minutes on this because really? 15 minutes for such a long, drawn-out disappointment of a match. I didn't think the wrestling was bad enough to give it a dud, but it is a definite 1-star.
So it's been documented that Dean Douglas had some issues with the Click. And I remember, now you guys are talking about, there's something off here. I can't figure out what it is, but I remember hearing someone say that Dean Douglas, his timing was just a little bit off. And Scott Hall confronted him about it, like after these matches, and said, hey, look, you got to get your shit together because this isn't going to work, basically.
Yeah.
I think maybe his problems with the Click kind of maybe started there, but you got to give Scott Hall credit for telling him this. Like, look, you got to get your shit together with the timing because it's off. And it's not working.
He's absolutely correct.
Right. So, that's probably what's going on. And Shane Douglas was in the WWF before, but it may have been before Scott Hall got there. But I don't know. Yeah, there definitely some timing issues. But for me, with all those shenanigans at the end, it was just a goofy ending and some miscommunication. I was going to give this match 1 star, but I gave it 2 stars because I feel optimistic about Dean Douglas. I feel like he could maybe fill a little bit of the hole that was left by Jeff Jarrett because, he's not as good a wrestler as Jeff Jarrett, but I feel like he can sort of maybe fill that hole now that Jeff Jarrett's gone. I don't want to bury this right now. I feel like there's maybe some hope for him to get better.
Wow.
Dave Meltzer gave this 2.25 stars. He said that Ramon looked good, but some of Douglas's offense looked weak.
Man, what a swerve, bro. Joe, you and I have flip-flopped on this. I'm being the the shit talker here and you're being the optimist. What's going on?
Bro.
Well, all right. Well, you know, what I said earlier, I take that back. I can't see how anybody got anything positive out of this, honestly. And I mean, hey, man, it is what it is, but I hope you're right.
I could be
right.
completely wrong, but it's Shane Douglas. I have some possible hopes that he'll improve. We'll see.
Yeah, and excellent point about filling that double J-sized gap. That's a really good point, and I will try to keep that in mind moving through in the future. Speaking of the future, join us for the next In Your House. We can't even get out of this one before we're being told to join them for the next one. My goodness. We already have a fucking match card set up. The Undertaker will take on King Mabel there.
Mm-hmm.
As well as the debut of Goldust.
Goldust, as Michael Hayes would say.
Back in Doc Hendricks land. I don't know where the hell Barry fucking Dudensky is.
Yeah, that's what I have noted here. Where the fuck's Dudensky?
Yeah, but Doc Hendricks is no Dudensky substitute. He tries to sell us the Hart glasses and the Shawn Michaels hat.
I wasn't buying it.
Not at all. Not at all. He does not have the sales chops of a Barry fucking Dudensky.
No.
What he does have, though, is two dudes with attitude in for a quick promo. Shawn Michaels, he did all right with that. That's not a Shawn Michaels promo that I can object to. But Diesel, once again, shat the bed. I am beginning to think it's impossible for Diesel to have anything other than a terrible promo.
Well, I mean, he doesn't really do anything except just repeat two dudes with attitudes, chaps with all the straps.
Well, it's the delivery. He's back to delivering it as though it's all just a joke and none of it is anything worth paying attention to, and just the same problem that we always have with Diesel's promos, I think. But that will take us into our next match. Bret Hart defeats Jean-Pierre Lafitte by submission in 16 minutes and 37 seconds. Bret Hart starts this segment out by calling himself Captain Crunch. What else can I say? Yeah, Bret then starts this match after the bell is rung by doing a suicide dive that completely overshoots Lafitte at the outside. Commentary tries to salvage it by saying that Bret at least got a knee in on his way over Lafitte's head.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. JR did call that a tope, though.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I was popping my ass off. Tope suicida! Well, why don't you just call it a suicide dive? The first thing that I noticed here is the speed that these two are working at. It's a step up from the usual, or at least a step up from the match that we're coming away from here. Things do eventually slow down as our competitors need to pace themselves, and I think I saw here why we've kept Lafitte limited to short squash matches. I couldn't see, where exactly the problem was or when it started precisely, but at some point here, it's almost like Lafitte was starting to suck wind. Maybe Bret had played him out a little too hard and fast. I'm not positive on that, though. That's not anything I'll bet money on. But then I realized that a pretty large portion of time had passed without me writing a single note, and that's not in a good way, like it was with the Bam Bam Bulldog match. This made me feel a little bit sad in that regard, because there was nothing noteworthy that I felt was going on with this. We get to the end, and Jean-Pierre Lafitte taps out to the sharpshooter to finish out this match. So I think I might have done that thing that I do, and I built this match up in my head too much. I'm not sure. I'm very curious to hear what you guys are going to say about this. But what I do know is that my gut reaction was to give this match a dud rating, but I also think that's probably pretty unfair, because a good amount of this is just it wasn't living up to these really high expectations that I had set for it. As much as I wanted to get into this match, it just wasn't happening, and for the sake of fairness, I'm going to go with 1 star on this. Joe, what did you think?
I sort of did the opposite. I didn't really build myself up for this. So I just kind of went into this, not knowing what to expect. Captain Crunch cuts his promo, which was kind of, generic, but the camera following him out, similar to...
Yes.
Was it Razor Ramon last time?
Yes.
That's awesome. I want to see more of that, especially with a guy like Bret Hart that gets that type of reception.
Yes.
That was awesome. There is nobody better than the Hart brothers at driving their shoulder into the ring post. I love it every time.
I knew it.
Bret did it like 3 times in this match. I loved it.
I have it marked as well. It can't go without mentioning.
It's just so awesome. I can't put that over enough. And the cannonball miss outside, whatever you want to call it, tope, whatever, I was impressive. I was impressed by that. That had to hurt like hell.
Yeah.
The crowd was really into it later on once Bret started getting on like the heavy offense. There's lots of near falls in this match. I can see what you mean, Bartlett, when you say Pierre looked like he was a little winded at times, but I don't know. I liked the match, but the match really pisses me off because it proves that Pierre can work, but nobody cares because he's a pirate gimmick. But Pierre went the distance. The superstar Bret Hart went over, and there were no shenanigans. I gave it 3 stars.
I'm going to be agreeing with Joe on this one. I thought these guys worked pretty good together. I didn't really build it up too much in my head. I was expecting at least a decent match because Bret Hart, he's a fucking legend, but what we saw out of Pierre has been promising, but we haven't seen him in anything against jobbers yet. So, I couldn't have built him up too much, and I couldn't agree more with how they started it with that promo. Him backstage and them following him right out the door, and the crowd just erupts. The King and Vince mention it, and you could barely hear his music over the crowd screaming. That's how loud the crowd was screaming for Bret Hart here. And they start things off, fairly quick, and there's a little thing right here towards the beginning, and I just want to point it out because it's something that great wrestlers like Bret Hart do. It's just a simple move where Bret Hart is lifting himself up in the air and driving his knee into Pierre's shoulder. And just the height and the impact and the way it looks, it's just a great move, simple move from a legend like Bret Hart, and how he could just make these simple things, bring them to another level. And I know you were saying that it looked like Pierre was getting a little bit winded, but the length of this match I thought was impressive, especially since they never really got into that let's catch our breath mode. They didn't have abdominal stretches, they kept the catching your breath moves to a minimum. So for a big guy like Pierre, I thought that was pretty impressive to me. I didn't think it was a tick against him. I thought it was actually a positive. And of course, there is nobody like the Hart brothers that take an Irish whip into the fucking turnbuckle. Man.
Yeah.
They're just unbelievable. So I thought there was a lot of good back and forth between these two Canadians, and I thought it was a good pay-per-view caliber match. I gave it a solid 3 stars.
What'd Meltzer think, Joe?
Dave Meltzer gave it 4 stars.
Wow.
He said that Pierre Lafitte is a very good worker, but lacks star charisma, which has hurt him in being taken by fans as a credible opponent for Hart, but he really liked the match.
It's almost like Meltzer didn't notice the fucking pirate gimmick that is maybe taking Pierre down a notch or 2 in the eyes of the fan. Like, how can you be charismatic when you're stealing jackets and coming out to the sound of fucking ship ropes creaking and just, god damn it. All right, well. All right. Yeah, so once again, I'm a little surprised on this. I'm surprised that you guys are as high on this as you are. But hey, man, whatever. That's why we're here. We're going to get another update now from Doc Hendricks. James E. Cornette has made a selection, and it is the British Bulldog. It looks like the triple header is set. But first, we're going to bring out the former women's world champion, Alundra Blaze.
But first, we're going to humiliate Alundra Blaze.
Yes.
To model a goddamn t-shirt. Vince is going to do the model announcing over the house PA. What
so
the
horrible.
flying fuck was this? This angered me more than I would have thought possible.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt rage for Alundra Blaze here.
The only good thing to me was, even though she had 2 shirts on, her removing that shirt was nice. It got me a little hot and bothered a little bit. Other than that, this was the drizzling shit.
They even made her like do her best Price is Right, where she had to like pull out the videotape,
and they called it a cassette.
Man, cassette.
Like, what the hell? And the shirt was hideous. The shirt it was so busy. Like, what the hell was it?
It was fucking terrible. It looked like something a third grader would throw together in Photoshop and screen print on a fucking shirt. It was terrible.
Yeah, and that was the event exclusive shirt. Too.
They're probably worth a ton now because 3 people bought them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to remember this the next time I want to say anything negative about Barry fucking Dudensky. He calls off one night and the world goes to shit. I'm pretty sure we can look back on this and pin the defection of Alundra Blaze to WCW on Barry fucking Dudensky calling off work tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, she would have never thrown the women's belt.
Or I
in the
guess,
trash.
what do we know? Maybe Barry Dudensky's gone, which would be sad.
It would be if this is how they're gonna keep doing this shit.
What do we need him for? We could just have Alundra Blaze go out there.
She's not doing anything purposeful anymore.
You know, a positive thing is no Todd Pettengill this show.
No.
And what the hell happened to Stephanie Wyand? She must be gone, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. She has disappeared.
So
since the first In Your House, I think was the last time we saw her. Right?
Even though this is terrible, I guess it could possibly be worse.
It could
There's
be
a
worse.
chance.
Okay. Well, I'm going to disagree with you because now we're going to go into our final match of the night. Diesel and Shawn Michaels defeat the British Bulldog and Yokozuna with Jim Cornette and Mr. Fuji by pinfall to win the WWF Tag Team Championship in 15 minutes and 42 seconds.
2 chaps with all the straps.
I'm gonna tack on an asterisk to the end of that, just so you know. You can't see it on my sheet here, but there is an asterisk on this championship win. And you will find out here, our listeners, I should say, will find out at the end of the breakdown here. So first up, I loved how Yokozuna was standing in the way of the hard camera view of Shawn Michaels doing his strip show. That was perfect.
Eclipsed it.
Oh, great word. Yes. Very, very appropriate. Some of the work between Shawn Michaels and the Bulldog to start this match off was pretty entertaining. But as soon as the 2 dudes entered to clean house, I was turned off by the high-fiving and friendship, and I dare say it didn't really come back for me. The time wasted teasing Yokozuna into a sumo-style challenge was somewhat entertaining, and I would probably have more positive things to say about it if it actually ended up being more interesting than what it was, but it didn't add up to much in the end as far as results go. Diesel and Yoko don't match up well in the ring, especially when Diesel grabs Yoko on the outside by his hair. So just to give a little background on that, Yoko has been, I do believe they did the rope thing where he gets slung against the ropes, but the ropes are down, so Yoko goes tumbling to the outside. Diesel walks over, reaches down, and grabs Yoko by the hair, as if Diesel was expecting to lift the 7,000-pound Yokozuna up into the ring. I don't really see what the point of that was. Bulldog's time in the ring with Diesel was a little better, but not enough to level this up at all for me. The Vulcan nerve pinch looked great. It really helped to elevate the match. I was really curious if they were going to let Yoko put the Banzai drop on Shawn Michaels. They did tease it, but of course they couldn't because Yoko is so grotesquely heavy that he would just immediately explode his knees trying to do that safely. One positive that could have been said for this is that the crowd was very much into it. I cannot deny that. The crowd were pretty solidly into this match. And another positive was the Bulldog selling for Yoko. When Yoko collapses onto him, it looked like the Bulldog was going into seizures there in the ring. And then the surprise arrival of Owen Hart, just to get jackknifed and pinned. That was the final straw for me on this. Why did any of this just happen? if that was going to be the finish. Once again, I am in what I feel is the extremely shitty position of giving a pay-per-view championship match a dud rating. If anything, the lead up to this was entertaining. I liked the vignettes of Cornette trying to recruit a tag partner for Yoko. I feel like we could have had just a teensy bit more of that, but really, all of the effort going into this to make it special with that triple header stipulation didn't work. We needed a way to put all of the belts on Diesel and Shawn Michaels, and we got it, although why Diesel and Shawn Michaels were in the running for the tag belts to begin with was never explained to my satisfaction anyway. So, yeah, dud from me. Ryan, what did you think?
Going into the match, it read like a dud. And it started off, I'm thinking, maybe not. You know, Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog, these two legends, they looked pretty good in the ring together when they started off. They did this series of head scissor flip overs that looked pretty good, and both Bulldog and Shawn Michaels are selling for each other fantastically. Then, once Yoko and Diesel get involved, I thought it was a little bit comical, Shawn Michaels' little sumo impersonation here. It was okay, but like you said, the payoff wasn't nearly as good as the setup. And kind of the pattern went as expected. When Diesel and Yoko are in the ring, shit. When Shawn Michaels and the British Bulldog are in the ring, great. When you have one Shawn Michaels or British Bulldog in the ring, things could get okay. And that is the pattern of the day. Unfortunately, I was completely confused by the craziness at the end. So Owen Hart comes in and he gets pinned? Like, he's not even in the match. I understand that technically he is the other half of this tag team, but we started this match without him involved, which means he's not legal regardless. No matter what happens, he is not the legal man here. And Diesel and Shawn Michaels are now the tag team champs because they pinned Owen Hart. I was ready to give this match a 1 star. Because of the action between the Bulldog and Shawn Michaels. But this ending drove it down to a dud.
Driving it down.
Yeah.
My first couple comments here is going to be on the commentary. Vince McMahon, his constant overselling of baby faces, it's just so over the top. And it reminds me of how terrible modern day wrestling commentary is. You know, you can tell Vince has the
ear plug in the ear.
Yes. He's all over it. And he was doing it in 95. It's obnoxious. Since this is our last match, I have noted that although it wasn't much, everything that Jim Ross has said tonight has been completely relevant and added value to the booth. So I just wanted to say that. For the match, like, the beginning, just seeing Diesel come out and he's in the ring, standing in the ring with Shawn Michaels, he just looks more comfortable in that position to me rather than just by himself. I don't know why, but he's
got to have his buddy.
Yeah. Friendship. So I noted that. I thought it looked cooler to me that Diesel was with Shawn Michaels than it would if he was single. This match, I'm just going to fast forward to the end because the end of this match was complete shit. Made no sense at all. There better be an explanation tomorrow on Raw because how else are you going to just continue from this? I don't understand. Have we seen, one other thing I want to note, have we seen Shawn Michaels in the ring with Yokozuna? Maybe in some random Survivor Series thing, but I don't think we have.
Yeah, I don't know.
I want to say we have once, but I couldn't tell you when. I might be completely off with that.
That was okay to see, and the crowd was into it because it's Shawn Michaels and it's Yokozuna.
He can make a turd look good.
Yeah, getting some heat thanks to Shawn Michaels there, so that was okay. But I give this a friendship dud. I hated everything about it. Dave Meltzer actually gave this 3 stars.
What?
He says, when you consider Yokozuna's weight, he's an incredible worker, but if he doesn't start losing weight fast, I feel very sorry for him because his life will get harder as he ages. And didn't really say anything else about the match, but he gave it 3 stars.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I will echo your sentiment there, Joe. There needs to be some splaining about this. I hope we get it.
Like 2 incredibly stupid things tonight. Owen Hart just randomly coming in, getting pinned, and 1, 2, 3 Kid randomly coming in, trying to be an official.
Yeah.
I mean, like, no explanation.
Yeah. Yeah. When I did look ahead to the next match card to do my, concluding notes here, I saw something. Things are going to need explained because I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this. Such a just clusterfuck going on. And I think that would be a great segue into our final thoughts on this pay-per-view. And since I mentioned it, I'll keep it brief, but I'll just go first with this one. I think clusterfuck is the best way to describe this, and that this is a prime example of the WWF making just a tremendous error in thinking that quantity equals quality as far as pay-per-views go. If this is what's going to happen by trying to stretch their stories and their workers to do a pay-per-view a month, I am surprised that it ever improved. I mean, I guess I really shouldn't be all that surprised because they are smart people when all is said and done. But to me, this is just prime proof that they were not ready to do this in-your-house shit over the course of 1995. They botched the stories. You wind up with things like this. They had to come up with this stupid goddamn gimmick match to highlight this pay-per-view to make it the least bit interesting. Meanwhile, if they would have taken one of the gimmick matches from SummerSlam, the first one that came to my mind was Bret Hart and Isaac Yankem. If they would have made that the main event of this pay-per-view, I mean, I know they couldn't because, he was in there with Lafitte and everything, which another weird-ass gimmick match, but I don't know. I don't really know what I'm getting at with all of that, other than to say this is sloppy booking, sloppy everything. So that being said, Joe, what did you think of this pay-per-view overall?
Thumbs down from me, for sure. Yeah. Only one match I gave 3 stars. Everything else was below that.
Yeah.
So, thumbs down.
Yeah, in agreement here. It's a thumbs down. There were, I thought, a strong match between Pierre and Bret Hart, and I didn't give a dud rating until the last match, but that really has to be hammered home. How many pay-per-views in a row are we going to give a dud rating to a Diesel headlined event? Something's got to change.
Yeah, completely agreed there. So, Joseph, what did Meltzer have to say about just all of this and the numbers that go along with that?
Well, Meltzer and the readers gave this a 49% thumbs up, 42% thumbs down, and the rest in the middle. So pretty split. The best match was voted as Bret Hart versus Jean-Pierre Lafitte. And can you guess the worst match?
Main event.
Yeah, main event.
No, Waylon Mercy versus Savio Vega.
Yeah, that's fitting.
Understood and understandable. Yeah.
So that's the readers. As far as Meltzer, Dave Meltzer thought the show was a mild thumbs down. He hated the main event finish. He did say that the show's saver for him was Bret Hart versus Pierre Lafitte, saying that it was an excellent match. And he also made comments on the 3-man booth, kind of praising Jim Ross for his knowledge of the wrestling moves and bringing that to the table.
I just wish we could have heard it more.
Yeah. A couple other things to note about the event itself. Fatu defeated Hunter Hearst Helmsley in a dark match in this event. After the pay-per-view, Goldust defeated Bob Holly, and Ahmed Williams defeated Skip of the Body Donnas.
Oh, Skip. Poor Skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Now, in other news here, there is more to the Diesel and Jean-Pierre Lafitte story from last week. If you guys remember, there was a little possible Montreal screw job happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they had a rematch in Quebec, which saw Jean-Pierre Lafitte do a leg drop and wound up landing his butt on Diesel's face. And Diesel immediately got up and started throwing hard shoot punches and jackknifed Pierre Lafitte for the win. So I think this is important because I think that Jean-Pierre Lafitte started having issues with the Click, and he may not be around too much longer, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Fucking Click.
Bartlett, you were asking about the Thursday night Raw shows last week.
Yes.
So it's reported that the Thursday night Raw show is simply just a replay of Monday's show. So it's basically just on twice a week, I guess, is what I'm gathering here.
Oh.
Why would he mention it in his commentary? That's bizarre.
I don't know.
Yeah.
What did he say about it?
Vince last week on multiple times mentioned that it was on a special Thursday night Raw.
Yeah, special Thursday edition.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's what Meltzer says. It's just a replay. Do you guys remember a wrestler from 96 to 98 named Sal Sincere?
Vaguely.
Yeah,
I vaguely remember the
vaguely.
name.
He went by Johnny Gunn in ECW prior to that. I don't know if that rings a bell. Well, apparently the WWF brought him in for a tryout for a motorcycle cop gimmick designed off of the Eric Estrada character from Chips.
I thought you were going to say based off of the Eric Cartman character, Respect My Authority.
No. So obviously that didn't happen, but that's just hilarious just to see that was a thought.
Yeah.
And the last story here, I had to hold back during this entire fucking show. But Barry fucking Dudinsky has disappeared.
Oh,
No.
According to Meltzer. But wait, I saved this for last because this is beautiful. The WWF somewhere had a poll of what wrestling personality would you like to see get power bombed? And Barry Dudinsky finished number one. So it's reported that Vince fired his ass because the fans want to see him power bombed.
Wow. And what the fuck's wrong with the fans back in 95? How do you not pick fucking Petting Zoo?
Well, yeah, I didn't see the results, but I have to think he was number two.
But how is he not number one?
I can see how a 90s crowd, the 90s being the grunge, anti-establishment type mentality that it was, I can see them wanting to go after the salesman that just only showed up to try to sell them shit. But that being said, to pick Barry fucking Dudinsky over Todd Pettingzoo
Travesty.
is just mind-blowing.
Well,
to me.
remember, too, that Todd Pettingzoo was well liked in the New York area as a radio DJ. It's probably a mixture of people that love the guy and hate him, but it sounds like everybody hates Barry Dudinsky.
They're fucking wrong.
Wow.
So I'll keep you guys posted on that if I hear anything else, but
Sad developments.
he has disappeared.
Oh my goodness. Okay, everybody. Who do you want to see get power bombed? Do you want to see this honest, hardworking man that's just trying to make a living and put some food on the table for his
Who
kids?
clearly
Get
loves
powerbombed?
his job.
That just loves the shit out of his job? Or would you prefer to see this smarmy shitbag that does terrible voices get power
And has a
bombed,
fucking rat tail.
I tried to do some research on Barry Dudinsky. Apparently he's like a professional poker player now.
Wow. All right.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
We should see if we get him on the podcast.
I wonder if he has a cameo. 99 cents. But wait, there's more. We're going to throw in this cassette of a totality of my career with the WWF for free.
Well, thanks to Jesse Ventura, he's probably getting some royalties from those videos.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, what a terrible way to end this. Fucking R.I.P. Barry fucking Dudinsky, I guess.
The bringer of death, Joe, yet again.
Yeah.
I had to hold back. How many times did you guys say, where the fuck is Barry Dudinsky?
Yeah. Well,
I stayed silent.
We saw what happened without him.
Yeah.
Doc Hendricks, Alundra Blaze, cats and dogs living
Yeah.
together, mass hysteria.
I wanted to swerve you, bro.
And you did. You did. I have been swerved, asshole. And that's it, folks. We're done with this one. I want to thank you again for joining us, and if you like what we're doing here and want to connect with us, you can find us on every major social media and podcast subscription platform by searching up the handle Wrasslin Raw. That's WRASSLINRAW. While you're there, don't forget to click subscribe to get every episode of Wrasslin Raw coming to you every week. Give us a 5-star review. Let your friends know about the fastest growing wrestling podcast in the world. Next week on Wrasslin Raw, we're going to take a look at the Raw that aired on September 25th, 1995, with matches featuring The Undertaker, Marty Jannetty,
Whoa.
and many more. So, for Joe and Ryan, I'm Jason, and this has been Wrasslin Raw.